There is a mineral compound sitting on the shelf at your local garden supply store right now. It costs $3. Broadleaf weed in your yard within 48 hours and never touches the grass. It has been sitting on shelves like that for decades. Spring is counting on you never picking it up. You walk your yard in April. The dandelions are back. The clover is spreading across the beds. The plantain is coming up through the path between the raised beds, thick and flat and stubborn. You spent $30 on a spray bottle last season. You spent an hour on your knees, spot treating. And 4 weeks later, you were back on your knees again. How much have you spent in the last 5 years on the same problem? How many seasons have you repeated the same purchase, the same Saturday afternoon, the same result? And why does the solution sitting on the shelf cost $3? I want to show you what ferrous sulfate does to a broadleaf weed. I want to show you the biology behind it, the mixing, the timing, the exact method my father used on the rows in Nagano and that I have used in my own American backyard for 30 years. By the end of this, you will know exactly how to clear every broadleaf weed from your lawn in one 10-minute application. Your grass will not just survive it, it will come back greener than before. There is no sponsor behind this video. What I am about to tell you is not profitable information for anyone trying to sell you something. Now, the overpaying, and the product that depends on it. Homeowners spend somewhere between $30 and $50 each season on branded broadleaf weed killers. Not once, every year. Sometimes twice a season if the first application disappoints. 5 years, that is $200 conservatively. Over 10 years, closer to $400, and the results, if you are honest with yourself, have been partial at best. The weeds come back, not all of them, not right away, but enough. Enough to send you back to the shelf next spring. Enough to keep the register ringing. This is not an accident. A product that works completely and permanently, one time, is a product you buy once. A product that works partially, just enough to feel like it is doing something, is a product you buy every single year for the rest of your life. That is the business model. I am not saying the people who design these products are dishonest. I am saying the incentive structure of the industry does not reward permanent solutions. It rewards repeat purchases. My father understood this without ever using those words. He grew up farming in rural Nagano, where nothing was wasted and nothing was purchased that could be made or found. He kept a small bag of iron mineral compound in the shed beside the house for as long as I can remember. He used it in the rows. He used it at the edges of the paths. The weeds came up in the spring he treated. Once, they did not come back that season. He called it quiet work. Not dramatic, just consistent and cheap and done. That is what I want for your yard this spring. Now, why you have never heard of this, and there is a real irony in the answer. Ferrous sulfate is not a secret, it is not a suppressed discovery or a hidden formula. It is a mineral compound that has been available in garden supply stores for generations. University agricultural extension programs have documented its selective effect on broadleaf plants. It is not obscure in scientific literature. The reason you have not heard of it is not scientific. It is commercial. A seasonal bag of ferrous sulfate costs $3 to $5. 1 gallon of properly mixed solution treats 200 to 300 square feet of lawn. The cost per treatment for a typical American backyard is negligible. A standard bottle of branded selective broadleaf herbicide costs $20 to $40 and covers roughly the same area. The margin difference between those two products is the reason one of them has a marketing budget and one of them does not. The reason you see television commercials for one and not the other. The reason the garden center display at eye level is stocked with one and not the other. If you want to know why your neighbor has never mentioned it, that is also the reason. He has never heard of it either. The information channel that runs from product manufacturer to marketing budget to retail display to consumer has simply never carried this particular product with any enthusiasm. There is no money and enthusiasm for a $3 solution. If this is the kind of thing you wish someone had told you years ago, that is what this channel is. One method, once a week, tested for 30 years before I ever say it out loud. Nothing sold to you. Subscribe if you want the next one. Now, the biology. Because without this, you are just following instructions you do not understand, and that is never enough. There is a difference between the way a broadleaf plant processes iron and the way a grass plant processes iron. This difference is the entire mechanism behind what ferrous sulfate does, and it is not complicated. Broadleaf plants, dandelions, clover, plantain, chickweed, ground ivy, have a cellular structure that draws iron in rapidly through their above-ground tissue. When the concentration of iron is high, the cells cannot regulate the uptake. The plant overwhelms itself. What you see on the leaf surface within 24 hours is a darkening and a curling inward. The plant is burning from the inside. Within 48 hours, the leaf tissue collapses. The plant dies back to the root. Grass plants process iron differently. The cellular uptake mechanism in monocots, the botanical classification grass belongs to, is slower and more regulated. The same iron concentration that overwhelms a broadleaf plant is absorbed gradually and beneficially by grass. The grass does not just survive the application, it uses the iron. Iron is a component of chlorophyll production, so the grass responds to a correct ferrous sulfate treatment by deepening in color. It comes back greener. This is why the selectivity works. You are not applying a poison, you are applying a mineral that two types of plants respond to in opposite ways. One is harmed by it, one is nourished by it. My wife Yuki keeps a glass of plain water and a glass of salt water on the kitchen counter when she explains this to a neighbor who is skeptical. Same water, different concentration, different effect on different tissue. She is usually right. I have learned not to argue. The key word is concentration. Too little and the broadleaf plants are not overwhelmed. Too much applied incorrectly and you can stress the grass as well. The method matters. The mixing ratio matters. Now, ferrous sulfate, what it is, where it has been sitting, and what it actually costs. The compound is ferrous sulfate, sometimes labeled iron sulfate or iron vitriol on older packaging, a blue-green crystalline mineral. You will find it at most independent garden supply stores, farm co-ops, and agricultural extension retail locations. Large home improvement retailers sometimes carry it in the garden section, though not always prominently. If your local store does not stock it, it is widely available through online garden suppliers. A seasonal bag at the weight appropriate for a standard American backyard will cost you $3 to $5. For a lawn of 2,000 square feet, you are looking at 7 to 10 gallons of mixed solution per application. The entire seasonal cost for a yard that size remains under $10. You are already doing the math against your last purchase at the garden center. One thing about where to buy it: look for ferrous sulfate sold without additives, without chelating agents, without blended fertilizer compounds. Read the label. The ingredient should be simple: ferrous sulfate, iron content listed as a percentage. Some blended soil amendments include ferrous sulfate as one component among many. That is fine for soil work, but not ideal here, where you want to control the concentration precisely. Simple, unblended, inexpensive. If the label lists anything more than ferrous sulfate and its iron percentage, blended, chelated, mixed with fertilizer, walk away. That is a soil product wearing the right name. It is not what you want today. Now the method, and stay with me through this section, because the timing rules are where most people would make a mistake without clear instruction. By the end of it, you will have everything you need to treat your lawn this weekend. The mixing ratio is 2 ounces of ferrous sulfate per 1 gallon of water. That is the working concentration for broadleaf weed control. Measure it accurately. Use a postal scale or a kitchen scale for the first batch until you have a feel for the weight. 2 ounces per gallon. Mix it in a clean pump sprayer or a watering can, depending on your yard size. For coverage above 500 square feet, a pump sprayer with a fan-tipped nozzle will save you significant time. Fill the sprayer. Seal it. Shake for 30 seconds until the crystals dissolve fully. The water will turn pale amber green. That color tells you it has mixed. Application is simple. Walk the yard at a steady pace, coating the broadleaf weed foliage completely. You are not soaking the soil. You are wetting the leaf surface. The compound must contact the above-ground tissue to work. A light, thorough coat across every leaf is more effective than a heavy drench at the center of each plant. Cover the leaves. Move steadily. A yard of 2,000 square feet, sprayed with a fan-tip nozzle at a walking pace, takes 10 minutes. Not an estimate. The actual time, 10 minutes, start to finish. Compare that to 2 hours or more of spot treatment on your knees with a handheld spray bottle. Now, the timing rules. These are not optional. Do not apply ferrous sulfate in the heat of the day. Morning application before 10 o'clock is the correct window. Evening application after 5 is also acceptable. Midday heat concentrates the solution as it dries and can cause temporary discoloration of grass blades. It recovers, but you do not want it. Do not water the lawn for 48 hours after application. The compound needs time to absorb through the leaf tissue. Watering too early dilutes the surface concentration and reduces effectiveness. Rain is also a concern. Do not apply if rain is forecast within 48 hours. If it rains unexpectedly within 24 hours of application, wait a week and reapply. Apply in spring or early fall when broadleaf weeds are actively growing. Midsummer application on dry, stressed grass is possible but less ideal. Apply when the weeds are green, upright, and actively growing. That is when cellular uptake is fastest. Now, 3 safety points, and I will not skip them because this method only deserves your trust if I give you the whole of it. First, ferrous sulfate stains. Concrete, pavers, stone, siding. The iron oxidizes on contact and leaves a rust-colored mark that stays for months. Keep 2 feet of distance from every hard surface, and if solution splashes onto your driveway, rinse it within seconds. Wear old clothes and gloves. The orange on your hands washes off in a day. The orange on your concrete does not. Second, keep children and pets off the lawn until it has dried completely. 2 to 3 hours. Once it is dry, it is done. Wet solution is a mild irritant, and there is no reason to take the chance. Third, do not use this on soil that is already acidic. Iron lowers soil pH a small amount with every application. If your pH sits below 6, correct that first. A soil test costs $4. Then this is the reason for the sealing I will give you in a moment. 3 applications per season, not 4. 3. At 24 hours, walk the yard and observe. The broadleaf plants will show the first signs of stress. The leaves will begin to darken and curl at the edges. The color shifts from green toward a dark bronze, almost black at the tip of each leaf. That darkening is the iron concentration doing its work inside the cells. At 48 hours, the collapse is visible. The leaves will be flat, dark, and soft. The plant's above-ground structure will be dead. Your grass, at 48 hours, will look unchanged or slightly deeper in color. The green is brightening, not fading. Leaf green, weed black. Walk through the yard and confirm it. Now, one detail about perennial weeds, dandelion, plantain, dock, that have deep taproots. The ferrous sulfate application kills the above-ground growth completely. The root, in a mature perennial weed, may push up new growth once in 3 to 4 weeks. A second application at that point kills the new growth again. The root loses stored energy with each regrowth attempt. By the 3rd application in a single season, most perennial taproot weeds have exhausted their reserves and do not return. The total cost across 3 applications for full season elimination is still under $15 for most yards. Clover, chickweed, ground ivy, and other shallow-rooted broadleaf weeds do not regrow after a single correct application. They are gone. Quick, before we go on, tell me in the comments what weed has been winning in your yard this spring. Dandelions, clover, something worse. I read every single one. Now, what ferrous sulfate will not kill? And this is where the method draws its honest line. ferrous sulfate does not kill grassy weeds. Crabgrass, nutsedge, annual bluegrass, goosegrass. These are monocots, the same cellular classification as your lawn grass. They process iron the same way. A ferrous sulfate application that kills your dandelions will not harm your crabgrass. This is not a flaw in the method. This is the method being precise. The selectivity that protects your grass also protects grassy weeds because they are biologically similar. If you have a crabgrass problem alongside your broadleaf weed problem, you need a different solution for the crabgrass, and that is a separate video because the correct approach is different and worth explaining. What I will say is this. In my own yard, over 30 seasons, the combination of ferrous sulfate for broadleaf weeds, healthy soil biology underneath the turf, dense grass coverage has reduced crabgrass year over year without chemical intervention. Dense, healthy grass outcompetes it, meaning the grass grows thick enough that the bare soil crabgrass needs for germination simply is not available. But that is the longer conversation. First, sulfate, broadleaf weeds, complete control within 48 hours at a cost of $3 to $5 per season. That is the scope of what I am telling you today. Now, the wrong approach, and there is a specific reason it keeps getting recommended. The standard advice is to apply a selective broadleaf herbicide containing either 2,4-D, or triclopyr as the active ingredient. That is the one on the back of the $40 bottle. These products work on the same principle as ferrous sulfate. They exploit biological differences between broadleaf plants and grass, but the active ingredient in those products costs the manufacturer cents per bottle to produce. The rest of the price is the brand, the packaging, the marketing budget, and the retail margin. You are paying $40 for $3 of effective chemistry wrapped in a labeled bottle every season. Honestly, just skip it. The ferrous sulfate in a seasonal bag is the chemistry unpackaged and unbranded at the actual cost of the mineral itself. Now, the final number, because I want you to have it clearly. Ferrous sulfate, $3 to $5 per season. One application, 10 minutes of walking time. Results visible in 24 hours. Complete broadleaf elimination in 48 hours. Grass comes back greener. Branded selective herbicide, $20 to $40 per bottle. Multiple applications across the season, 2 to 5 hours of spot treatment time on your knees. Partial results, back at the shelf next spring. Over 5 years, ferrous sulfate costs $15 to $25 total. Branded alternatives cost $150 to $200 for the same yard, the same problem, and a worse result. My father did not have the vocabulary for market incentive structures, but he had the bag in the shed and the results in the rows. He knew what worked, he kept the bag, he skipped the bottle. This was never a secret. It was simply never profitable to tell you. $3 solution does not buy television time. It sits on a low shelf. Now you know to pick it up. Every method I share on this channel follows the same principle. The right answer is usually cheaper, simpler, and older than the thing being sold to you. Next time, I am going to show you what my father did about the weeds ferrous sulfate cannot touch, the crabgrass, and the grassy invaders that hide inside your lawn by looking like it. No chemicals there either, and it costs even less than today. It is the natural next step after this video. Until then, keep the spray off the concrete, give it 48 dry hours, and remember, the right answer is usually cheaper, simpler, and older than the thing being sold to you.